Gather around, children, while I tell you the horrific tale of Alice Cullen's human life. Alice is born Mary Alice Brandon. She is born in 1901, and she's born in Biloxi, Mississippi. She has her gift from a very early age, but it's not like a vision in the way that it is when she's a vampire. It's more like a feeling. At first, her parents thought the premonitions were amusing. They'd be like, Alice is always right, because she was like 5 years old and she'd be in her rain jacket because it was going to rain. She'd be like, Grandma's going to be here soon, and they'd be like, ha 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 ha, and they put out an extra plate. But as you can imagine, as Alice got older, people started getting creeped out by this. She stops getting invited to children's birthday parties, and by 18, she pretty much ignores her gift unless something really bad is going to happen. So on one occasion, Alice's cousin was going to go west to pursue a fortune. Alice was like, please don't go, and a cousin died in a tragic accident. Alice was blamed for putting a curse on him, and so people started thinking she's a witch. One day, Alice receives her most terrifying vision. She has a vision of her mother being murdered in the woods near her house. She's like, Mom, I'm seeing a stranger murdering you in the woods if you try to go into town. And so Mrs. Brandon listens to her, and she and her sister and her mom stay in the house for 2 days with a pistol. Mr. Brandon, Alice's father, gets home from his work trip, and he's like, I've had it with this. He goes, checks the woods. He's like, nothing's wrong. Alice is haunted by these visions of this stranger who's going to murder her mother. But her mother kind of like has to go about her day-to-day stuff because Alice's father is most often gone. 2 months after those initial visions begin, Alice has a very clear vision of a man in a Model T running her mom and her buggy off the road where there's a very steep drop. When she has this vision, her mom has already left in her buggy, and so Alice like runs out to check what's going on, and her mom has already been in the accident. Alice's mom's death is declared accidental, despite the fact that Alice was trying to tell her dad what happened. 6 months later, Mr. Brandon marries a new lady who's only 10 years older than Alice. Alice finds her stepmother suspicious, and she goes and tries to tell her dad, and her dad is, of course, furious again. The night after this fight with her dad, Alice has a vision of her dad and the man who ran her mom off the road. And she sees her dad giving the man money, and then she has a vision of the man standing over her with a knife. Alice is like, oh my God, my father's paying this man to kill me. She runs out into town. She tries to tell her aunt and uncle. They turn her into this marshal. She's basically put into a mental asylum. This is when her hair is shaved. She undergoes electroshock therapy, even though that did not exist at the time. And she, after the electroshock therapy, she doesn't remember any part of her life. She makes friends with the groundskeeper, who happens to be a vampire, and this vampire can tell that Alice is talented. Then Alice has a vision of James the Tracker. He's in her hometown 2 counties away, and he catches her scent. And she is his singer. She tells her only friend, the groundskeeper vampire, and he's like, oh my God, let's help you escape. But every option he gives Alice, Alice sees James catching her. The groundskeeper and Alice decide that she should be changed. Alice knows that this is going to be very close and it might not even stop James. The groundskeeper puts himself in James's way so that Alice has enough time to transform. She wakes up alone. She doesn't have any memory of the groundskeeper or James or anything. She has no idea who she is or where she's been. She has a vision of Jasper, and she waits for him until he's ready for her, and then they go join the Cullens.